Success in Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And we are back on the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and we are real fortunate to get Christina Tobin back. You know her well from Free and Equal, and she's got an incredible event coming up. I'll let her tell us about it. Christina, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back on. I much appreciated.
Hey, so you got a great article that I'm reading here. Why journalists are leaving U.S. networks. Why are they leaving U.S. networks? Although it's a little bit rhetorical, the question, isn't it?
It is. They're journalists, simply put, with a conscience. And the current system, mainstream media, is just the money pumped behind these networks is anything but pure. The networks, whether it be ABC, CBS, and so on, they're tools. They're tools that the powers to be, a few wealthy families, use to intentionally divide us, as well as the two-party system, the reality show TV networks to Hollywood and so on. These tools are used to divide us, cause needless chaos. And so journalists are waking up, many of them, whether it's the Amber Lyons, she was with CNN, a whistleblower who left that network. As we know with Cheryl Atkinson, that's all over the news and so on. Phil Donahue, more recently Ben Swan, he was formerly with Fox. Jen Huger, formerly with MSNBC. Even journalist Chris Hedges, with the New York Times. There's definitely a trend here, and it's a trend that's going to work in our favor and help, help a really major shift that's going to happen here, an awakening here in the U.S., and it's going to be a positive, powerful, peaceful awakening that's happening really in the next couple of weeks or months, if that, here throughout the United States.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, I remember once upon a time, like muckraking journalism, that's what the purpose of these media outlets was, to hold the powerful accountable, to hold our government accountable, and let them know that they were being watched and they couldn't just do whatever they wanted to do, that at the very least they were going to be embarrassed, and at the worst they were going to be exposed and perhaps subjected to criminal liability or civil liability. Now, Christina, it's just a big free-for-all out there, and these people think they can do whatever they want, and there's nothing to stop them.
There is something to stop them, and it's called, in 3 words, we the people. We the people are going to rise and come together. And every time I say this, I get goosebumps, because I'm a true believer in that there's just far more honest, good people out there in the world than there are not. And the system has intentionally not only tried to dumb us down, sidetrack us, distract us, that is, but they want us to give up. And for me, that's not an option, because giving up, that's some scary things around the corner, with the National Defense Authorization Act, Patriot Act, NSA, drones, drug warfare, military industrial. It's very obvious what the system has in store for us, the powers to be. So for me, giving up's not an option. We will rise as a nation, as the U.S. of A., and eventually the world, a movement bigger outside of the two-party system, bigger outside of our government. And we're going to come back and say, we're going to rise that is outside of the system and take our government back. And here at Free and Equal Elections, many of you may remember us when we hosted a presidential debate back in 2012, moderated by Larry King and myself. And, tens of millions of people viewed that. It was really cool. And gosh, I recognized then, how the Commission on Presidential Debates, another tool the system uses. They pump 50, 60 million, the elite, the powers to be, to who in return, ABC, CBS, NBC, sponsored. They use that as a tool to, again, provoke the needless chaos. So the good part is that we're waking up. The 18 to 28-year-olds, according to the polls, are going to be the game changers. They're a force to not be reckoned with. And I think, and when I see a movement that rises, an alternative platform that brings these honest media leaders together, whether it's Abby Martin, Amber Lyons, Ben Swan, Cheryl, Phil Donahue, so on and so on, this platform is truly going to bring about free and equal elections and accountability, for that matter. not only throughout our government, but throughout every faction of the world, music, Hollywood, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And I'm sure you were watching what happened at the Bundy Ranch, which is a direct reaction to overreaching, all-powerful, absolute government, right?
I couldn't agree more. That's definitely, I commend, different leaders down there. I've just read from Ron Paul to Sheriff Mack, in different ways they're addressing it. Some agree with, some not. But, the issue here I think we can all agree on is that the government needs to really be kept in check. It's really, it's a very scary thing right now with our government introducing, again, the National Defense Authorization Act. To be able to have the right to detain us, to remove us from our homes, because I'm on this interview right now and you have me on and we're speaking the truth. Under the law right now, we can be detained and taken from our home at any time without subject to a trial, jury. That is very scary. It's very obvious. Some say, that a lot of liberty people out there, left and right alike, that speak the truth, could just, just scary things around the corner. Our government might be capable of anything, but I don't really point the fingers at things that have happened in the past, whether it's Pearl Harbor, 9/11, or Martin Luther King or John F. Kennedy. I'm not one to speculate. I'm just one to say, let's just fix it so we don't have to think about such not good things possibly happening, whether it's the government or not. I just don't know. I'm not an expert on those topics, but what I do focus on is the fix. And the fix is that we have election fraud. That is a huge issue. We have a system that has intentionally made it where people don't want to vote. Why? Because of long lines, and probably more so because of the lack of honest candidates running for office, because of gerrymandering, because of the Electoral College, because of ballot access, because of the debates. All these tools the system has used to rig our elections need to go. And so here at Free and Equal Elections, we're working with so many leaders, whether it's from Honest Media that I mentioned on this call, to Larry King, a great asset. I just met with Larry King for lunch a week ago. Of course, we're doing to Chuck D of Public Enemy. I just met last week, who came out in support of a huge event we're holding at UCLA. I could speak about a festival in a little bit. But, I've really realized that, at 32 years of age, I just want to help save our country. And this is my destiny, and I'm okay with that. And whatever it brings around the corner, it's more scary to me to let things happen than it is to be at the forefront of a movement that I feel that will result in saving so many lives. And I feel so humbled and honored to be a part of it. And I have I love life, I love the world, and I want to be here as long as possible, and I want to make the lives much better for everyone here on Earth, beginning with the U.S. of A. and eventually the world, of course.
Hey, I'm so inspired by you, Christina, because, let's face it, these parties that we have, whatever you want to call them, they're just crime families. They're just, basically, they've become just facilitators of criminal activity, nothing more, nothing less. And we need to get past them, because that's all their only purpose. And, when I hear someone young like you who really wants to bypass the whole system as it stands now, and that's really the only way that we really can take the country back, is just to really get past them, get people on there who don't want to join the existing order to line their own pockets or to get power, but really just want to do the right thing. There really is no other way to do this, is there?
Well, I don't know. Your question of there isn't really another way to do this. I don't know the specific question. I'm almost listening to you more than I am thinking about responding, the art of listening, right? And I love that. So your question specifically is
that you really can't get to the parties. You can't really just acknowledge the authority of the parties and just let them get you down. Really, that's what I'm saying.
And I just can interpret. You're just so deep, so many different ways. And yes, can't get to the parties. I agree with the fact that parties, they don't work. When I look at the Constitution, there's no mention of parties, nor corporations. And being an advocate for 15 years of my life, It's weird. I have a Wikipedia page, which is really strange to see, I must say. And on that Wikipedia page, it shows that back in '98, my dad ran for governor of Illinois as a libertarian. Like, if he ran as green, it doesn't matter. I'm an independent. But I saw my dad wrongfully knocked off the ballot. This honest standing against taxes for over 35 years of his life now. He's just an amazing person that has not, compromised within the system. He's been the system's tried to buy him out. He's just a middle-class, awesome, cool person. And, I recognize that, gosh, as I got involved within third parties thinking there should be an alternative, I noticed within the national libertarian and green parties, as they became larger, they inevitably became infiltrated. So they don't work because parties attract people who want power. So more parties is not the answer. And I look at Dr. Ron Paul, what happened to him during the RNC. Like, literally the votes were stolen from him. The delegates, it's all on the record. Even Mitt Romney admits to this, the vote, the election being stolen from Dr. Ron Paul. A prime example of how they would rather crash the parties and let somebody else take over because the parties work together behind the scenes. So don't take the bait. Rand Paul, his son, the apple fell, unfortunately, far from the tree there because compromising is not an option. He's voted in support of sanctions of Iran. And gosh, I just wish that he was like his dad. I really do. But who is like Ron Paul? Who is like Ralph Nader? Who is like Jesse Ventura and these leaders? They're all individuals for that matter. So that being said, I do, again, foresee the people rising. I see that through free and equal elections, we're kicking off a United We Stand Fest at UCLA May 10th, the beginning of a 10-stop tour we're holding throughout all of 2015, having leaders like Larry King, keynote speaker, Mary Ann Williamson. She's a New York Times bestselling author that's running for Congress in California's 33rd as an independent. She's on the Oprah Winfrey Show. She is really iconic and helping to inspire, I feel, a lot of people to run for office. And this movement, this platform we're building at Free and Equal Elections, it all drives, in our initiatives. We're in the election curriculum, having courses. It's just so much to put in an interview, so I apologize. I know I'm saying so much. But we have all these different initiatives. But the heart of Free and Equal is our election assistant, which is going to list every single candidate running for office, whether they're with a party or not. People are going to see the money they get in their race. They're going to have online debates, social interaction beyond Facebook. And, our activity at Free and Equal, Facebook alone outreach skyrocketed from 30,000 to over 16 million in the last month or two. No paid advertisements. We're just really coming off from under the radar. So, again, I feel humbled to be a part of this. There's so many parts of Free and Equal, and I will have to work on messaging it more tightly. But Free and Equal, freeandequal.org is where you can go and learn more about it, hands-on, get involved.
Yeah, well, like you said, there's nothing in the Constitution or in any of the founding documents that mention anything about political parties. And, doing away with these parties will go a long way towards getting us to where the country needs to be. And the political parties just really corrupt everything they touch. It's just amazing to me that we've gotten to where we are. These parties are just, like I say, they're just crime families. They really are. It just amazes me.
It's beyond the parties. I know some people say I'm being a little too soft, but I think if, or for that matter, when parties fade away and money in politics fade away, because we have the internet, which can highlight and show who these individuals are running for office, we're going to be able to shift the power back to the local levels, which is under the origins of the Constitution, how it should be. And, yes, parties don't work, but these people who are in office, I do think a lot of them maybe had better intentions or even good intentions when they first started to run for office in hopes of, being able to better the system from within. Of course, the ones who stuck with those intentions are more than likely not still in office, right?
Yeah.
And then the ones who realized they became dependent on the paycheck, having kids, a family, they slowly, or some others quickly, became infiltrated by the system. And so their conscience of having to live with their conscience of knowing that they became a part of a flawed system, for me, is enough. I don't get angry at them. I just say, you're going to have to live under that shadow of knowing you were once a part of this not good system, and that's it. There's just the anger and being upset. The system wants us to get angry just like they want us to give up. And you know what? Life is short. I watched this video by Alan Watts, What If Money Were No Object?
Oh, sure.
Or The Art of Waking Up.
I love that.
And what if I could bring somebody else back on Earth? It would be Alan Watts, George Carlin. I mean, the list goes on and on. Variety, Bill Hicks. I mean, gosh, these guys, they empower me, and women too out there. It's just really, we are going to be able to, I feel, create a better world, and we don't need the needless violence going on, I feel. I don't know if needless is the right word, but the violence that's provoked intentionally by the powers to be, whether it's in Syria, Egypt, Russia, all these worlds and countries. Gosh, I mean, the whole world is waking up, and America is just kind of like, not really yet, but we're about to really quickly. We have to. And I feel strongly that we will.
Yeah, well, it's just a question of what it's going to take. A friend of mine, Tyler Gallagher, he basically owned a bullion company, and he said it's a simple matter. The country will wake up when it has no choice. And we're getting to that point where we really don't have a choice. And, we really don't. Things are just reaching the tipping point where just don't have a choice. And unfortunately, we're just at that point, right? So.
But see, the thing is that we have a choice of how we want to wake up. Because we're waking up no matter what. Do we want to be prone to the system of angry riots, going around with no direction like Egypt did in the square? All these, for the most part, probably good, honest people that said, hey, Egypt, we are not happy with our government. And they had a huge, gathering, revolution or whatnot, I guess, in the square. But they had no direction. And so the Muslim Brotherhood came in and co-opted that, and all this needless violence and not good things happening to just good people in Egypt. And so here in America, the system wants us. They do. They want us to riot. They want us to get angry. Why do you think all these tanks are being distributed throughout the U.S. today? Why do you think they passed the National Defense Authorization Act, Patriot Act? I mean, because they are ready to sweep us up, and it's scary from what I can see and what people speculate. Obviously, I can't predict something. It hasn't happened yet, but historically, that is looking very much the case. But historically, the one tool we haven't had in the past is the power of the internet and social media. And I think that if our forefathers had had that when they created the Constitution, we'd be much better off. But there's a reason why the system has essentially squashed over 500 patents, powerful ones since the 1900s that would further technology. And some really amazing people that are no longer with us, but should be, I feel, that would have helped further technology and so on. But it definitely we definitely do have a choice when waking up, and let's make it fun. Let's make it exciting. Dr. Ron Paul once said, if you're ever going to bring about a revolutionary change, two things would need to be involved: the youth and the music. So hence the United We Stand Festival. Man, I mean, it's the arts, the music, the spirituality, the unity, and the messaging of educating the people on this platform, creating from a reality show to a network of pulling in the information and pulling it and pushing it out, a reality show in the sense of real people talking about real issues in the world with real hearts and real conscience. And I think that this is all going to evolve very peacefully, positively, and I just want to see people be safe and happy. I don't want to see people homeless. I don't want to see animals on the street. I don't want to see needless violence anymore. I want to see cures rise. The system has us so focused on cures. We're not focusing on the cause. The cause is very obvious, whether it's tied to the pharmaceutical industry and how that influences the electoral system. I mean, I can go on and on a rant here, and I'm aware that I am, but I really want the messaging across.
We like your rants. It's okay.
It's just like, come on, we've got to wake up and let's make this fun. Let's not be prone to the negativity.
Yeah, it's such a great point.
We're going to make it fun.
Great point.
Life is short.
And important. Life is short, and you need to be doing something meaningful, something that feeds your soul, rather than being used by a system that will just eventually discard you like a squeezed grapefruit. Because that's what they eventually do to all of the people that do their beck and call, that do their bidding. Eventually they just toss them out. You know that, Christina, right? Eventually they just toss them, and there's nothing worse than leading a life where you're just doing somebody else's dirty work. That song, Steely Dan, It just really is the worst thing. And, no matter how much money they pay you, if you're not your own person, and in the end, if you're just not leading a rich, fulfilling life, then what was the point of it all, right?
Wow, I know that's definitely the rich and fulfilling. To address your topic on tossing out, the only thing we need to be tossing out now is every member of Congress. I mean, over 60% of the people on the polls want Congress to be tossed out. Let's toss you out. Your days are numbered, guys. No ill will, no hard feelings. Again, having to live under the cloud of knowing you were part of a system that was flawed is enough. That's enough. I wish no more ill will than that. That's just how it's going to be. But as far as the rich and full lives, the system, boy, they have really tricked us into thinking that we need to have these designer handbags and these huge homes and, and buying. And so we have to work more. And that takes me back to Alan Watts. What if money were no object? Yeah. And how he messages in that video, really research it, guys. Alan Watts, I'm sure most of your listeners have heard of him, of course, but the younger generation hasn't yet, and they will with this movement, But, how money has control. You can be whatever you want to be in the world. You can be an artist. You can be a musician. As long as you practice that art and you become a master of it, you can make a living doing that. And it's just so obvious to be sitting in an office day by day, every day, and going through paperwork because you're told you have to pay your debt, for your house and your car. As Alan Watts would say, it's just stupid. And I couldn't agree more. So these kids are just going to have a huge awakening, and I think they're going to be so fortunate to be in this era, the 18, 20-year-olds, and, of course, the little ones that are running around. Your listeners that are listening now, I have 3-year-olds, 10-year-olds. This is the movement, I think.
You're totally your movement, correct.
freeandequal.org.
You're totally correct. And, hey, great. And, Christina, it's been a pleasure. Just remember, go over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Click the link in the show notes. You'll get right to Christina's site. And we will talk with you again soon. And mainstream media, your days are numbered. And Christina, thanks so much.
More voices, more choices. Thank you for what you do, because you're honest media. And when we rise like you, it's just everything we do, every moment, and we can take back our government. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you again for everything that you do, and all of your listeners for listening to this interview.
All right.
Spread the word.
You too. Be well.
Lots of love. You too.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.